2026 MLB opening series, San Francisco Giants hosting the New York Yankees. And this was a historical, first of its kind opening series, considering the Giants and Yankees played a standalone game on a Wednesday to open the MLB season up, the Netflix game, and it started at 5 p.m. And I have so many problems with this. And I'm not just trying to find fault, but I have a lot of issues with this. One, being on Netflix, I'm not a fan. Two, you're trying to make baseball into something that it's not, and I'm tired of baseball trying to cater to people who are not baseball fans, and they have alienated so many times the real baseball fans, right? The people who love the game for what it is, the sport at its core, the real essence of baseball. Some things are good, some things are bad that they've changed. I mean, a few things I will say I'm for the pitch clock. That's been a good thing. The ABS, I would also consider at this point a good thing, and that was a positive thing of the first few games of this MLB season. I was impressed by that and how reviewing the strikes was quick, and it did not slow the game down. What I'm not a fan of is the constant interleague. And yeah, it's not anything new at this point. But I feel, again, if you're a traditionalist and you didn't just grow up watching baseball a few years ago, to me, starting the season off with Giants and Yankees, and this is the second time they've done it in just a few years. It was done in New York, now it's here, but starting the season off that way to me is a middle finger flip off to those of us who are baseball purists, traditionalists, and we want National League Baseball, and we want American League Baseball, and we want interleague left to a minimum, because what it's done is it has taken away from the All-Star Game, and it does take away from the World Series. It's true. It's taken away from both of them, and it's not anything special anymore. Yeah, you haven't started the season out that way, but it's not as if it's the first time the Giants and Yankees played. I actually had the privilege of going to the first Giants-Yankees series in 2007 at, I'm going to call it Pac Bell Park. That's my favorite name for the stadium. I know it's been SBC and now it's Oracle. We've gone through all of that. AT&T, Pac Bell was the best name. And that was an incredible experience, seeing Alex Rodriguez and Derek Jeter and Roger Clemens. And that was Barry Bonds' final season. It was very special. It's not the way to open a season. And if you're actually getting into the games itself, which we will in a moment, it was a bad matchup for the Giants. A very bad matchup. And it's the type of series you'll learn something about the Giants right away, because the Yankees are a good team. They're a talented team. They're not a great team. But they are one of the challengers. They are a serious team and competitor in the American League. You don't want to overreact of all sports. You don't overreact in baseball because it's a 162 game season. But as the Giants are concerned, you want a good first impression, because we haven't had much to get excited here in San Francisco with baseball for a while. We know the 21 season, 107 game winning season was the last time we had anything to get excited about, but it was sort of a fluky season. It was. But since then, the Giants have been dull. They have been boring. they have not been entertaining. And they have been, as I said last opening day, they are a hard watch, and they are a second-rate team to the Dodgers. They are. And if the Dodgers are the benchmark, if they're the standard, the Giants do not even come close. And you would learn something about the Giants. Again, don't overreact from an opening series, but learn something about them when they go up against a team like the Yankees, who have firepower. They have a big lineup. They have Judge. They have Stanton. They have a deep lineup. But the other thing is, the Yankees are coming in with a good rotation, not a great rotation. Garrett Cole's out, so the three starters were Max Fried, then it was Schlittler, and then Warren. Those were the three starters, and the Giants managed 1 run. 3 games at home to open the season, and having the spotlight for the first game to open the entire season for Major League Baseball. They get shut out in the first game. They lose 7-0. Second game, they lose 3-0. And then the third game, they lose 3-1. They get swept. They get outscored 13-1 for this 3-game series. 13-1. So let's start criticizing the Giants. Where shall we begin? It was an extremely uninspiring, flat start to the season. You want to see something, and we really didn't see anything. And you could say, well, some of the players on this roster, some of the most important players on this roster, get off to slow starts. Okay. All right. Yes, it is a very long season. But that is not good for the fan base. It's not good for the team. Getting swept and being uncompetitive with the Yankees. Not even challenging them. It was easy. Just a easy, clean sweep of the Giants. The Yankees really didn't even have to break a sweat in the series. But let's get to our gripes. Let's get to our complaints. There's plenty to go around with this, and I would say roster construction is my biggest problem, and it doesn't all come down on Buster Posey because he's inherited some of these players. Let's just go through the lineup, the position players, the rotation. Let's look at the outfield first. Ramos, I'm good with Ramos for what he is. Bader, I think Bader was a decent signing. Jung-Hoo Lee is the player that you knew it was a bad signing from the very beginning, and at least for now, they're sort of stuck with him. He's a light-hitting defensive outfielder, and when he gets on, he's not even that good of a base stealer. He's really a celebrated, as I said before, he's a celebrated, glorified Shinjo, and it's a joke that the fans actually have a chant for him because he's really a fourth outfielder. I mean, and that's what Shinjo was for the Giants in the 2002 season. You know, once they acquired Kenny Lofton, he was a fourth outfielder. Shinjo. Infield, let's just call, well, we'll go with Casey Schmidt. Well, Schmidt's at first base for now. Okay, fine. He had a rough opening series. Arise. I like the Arise signing because there's so many free swingers, swing and miss guys, strikeout players in the Giants batting order. Big problem, so that's mainly why I like the Arise signing. Willy Adames is the signing I was most against Because he's a good player, and he's been put in the position by this organization to be something more than he is. He's a good player, and he's being expected and asked to be a great player. He's a complimentary player. He is not going to be a great player, and if he's expected to be one of the best players on your team, you're not going to have a great team. Adames. At best, he's an above-average player. And he had a pretty good season. He had a fine second half, but he had a very poor first half in 2025. Matt Chapman, I'm more of a fan of Chapman because his offensive game very similar to Willy Adames, but what is different is you get stellar defense with Matt Chapman. Adames, he's adequate at shortstop. Chapman, he's one of the better defensive third basemen really in the history of baseball. And then you move to catcher Patrick Bailey, arguably the best defensive catcher in baseball, but he can't hit a lick. We expected more from him offensively based off what he did in college, in the minor leagues. But he's regressed more and more offensively. I think personally he's better as a right-handed hitter than a left-handed hitter. And then there's Devers. And so much comes down to Devers. And the problem with Devers was, and I'll back up and say, I liked the trade for Devers because you had to get a player like that. And if you can't get him in free agency, you need to trade for him. The Giants didn't give up that much to get him, which was great because they were willing to pay him. That he was good last year, not great. He needs to be great, and he's capable of being great. We just need to see more from him, and he does need to be, as they said on the Fox broadcast today, for the Giants to be a playoff team, and I'm saying that with a lot of hesitation, because I think they continue to have so many problems with the everyday lineup out in the field and in the rotation, that's going to be a long shot even with the expanded playoffs. It's going to be a long shot. But I like Devers, but he has a lot to prove. He does. He's going to have to carry this team if they're going to be, let's just say, in the playoff hunt. That's a better way of putting it. Because Giants are looking up at a lot of ball clubs, and they still, the thing is, you just compare on paper the stars that the Giants have, if you want to call them stars. I should use that lightly too. Stars, and I'm using that loosely, compared to the Dodgers. Even with the Dodgers having some of their best players on the decline, clearly they're much better than what the Giants have to offer. With Ohtani, and I would say Freeman and Betts are at the tail ends of their primes. And then on top of that, you have complementary players like Will Smith, Teoscar Hernandez, Kyle Tucker. And you're just not on that level when you're throwing out, we've got Devers, Chapman, and Adames. And the problem with those three, Devers, Chapman, and Adames, is Devers does walk. He does get on base, but all three of them strike out a ton. And if they're the three most important, valuable offensive players on your team, that is a problem. And that's a big issue I have with the roster construction. There are going to be a lot of strikeouts in the game because of the pitching being what it is, and the level and the velocity, and these pitchers, some of them having 5, 6, even 7 pitches. It has never been more difficult to go up there and have a plan at the plate. But still, even for this era, these guys strike out a ton. And What about the farm system? Bryce Elder is a big question mark, even though he's a big prospect. But how many prospects have we had? He's one of the bigger ones, yes, for an offensive player. He has a lot of potential. Yeah, I agree. He's shown flashes, but he really struggled. And he did not belong last year when he was called up. He wasn't ready. They were sort of forced to bring him up, but clearly he was not ready to play. And he's another player who strikes out and strikes out and strikes out. Like we don't have enough of those already. And if you're a longtime Giants fan, all we have to do is go through the long list of failed Giants prospects that were supposed to come up and be middle of the order hitters, contributors, can't miss players. I mean, Todd Linden is one that always comes to mind. You had Todd Linden. You had, just think recent, multiple guys recently. Let's look at Luis Matos. DFA. Matos only had warning track power, and then the name I never want to hear again is Marco Luciano. Mister. If anyone was a can't miss, it was him. For the longest time, we heard about Ramos and Luciano. And you know what the thing about prospects is? You got hit on some eventually, and they sort of mistakenly had things kind of work out with Ramos. But Luciano was just supposed to be, the man, and the problem with him is, they couldn't find a position for him. Well, even if he was going to DH, again, same problem. Warning track power. He just wasn't good enough. He wasn't big league material out there. And then, of course, Joey Bart would be the other. And, they could have at least kept him around. Farhan's guy was, after all, Patrick Bailey. But it's just the inability to develop players. And that goes for pitchers, too, really. Because that perfectly transitions into the rotation. Okay, Logan Webb. I love Webb. And as good as he's been, to me, if you're a serious team that's going after a pennant or a World Series, as great as Webb is, he probably should be your number 2, not your number 1. I would prefer to have a power guy. Kyle Harrison was supposed to be that player, right? It was supposed to be a 1-2 punch of Harrison and Webb. And Harrison lost his velocity. And I would be surprised. I'd be surprised if he even cracks a rotation at this point. Kyle Harrison. And that was the best thing the Giants were able to do, is flip Harrison in order to get Devers. Because they don't have really anything behind Webb and Ray. And we're waiting for more pitchers. Where are the pitchers coming from when you're not developing them? And you can't even sign pitchers to come and play and pitch at Pac Bell Park. Yeah, that's what I refer to it as to this day, Pac Bell Park. It's a terribly frustrating team and organization, and I just wonder about Buster Posey. Love him as a player. Is he seriously qualified to be running this team from the front office? I would rather have him as a manager, I'd rather have him managing the team, not, again, constructing the roster. And then there's the decision to bring Tony Vitello in. And I don't know what to make of it to this day, that you really could not find anyone at the major league level or even to promote from the minor league level to go to college. This has never been done before. the thing is, you got to have the players. In baseball, you have got to have the players. I mean, just look at Dave Roberts. How many people are really going to tell you Dave Roberts is a great, great all-time manager? I mean, he could win 5 World Series, 5, maybe even 6 World Series with all the talent he has. And look at all the World Series he's been in. But no one is going to tell you that Dave Roberts is on the level of Bruce Bochy. And that's why we love Bochy. Bochy took teams and he really knew how to manage them, and specifically the bullpen, and he knew how to make the right moves late in games with teams that were good, but not teams that were in any way an overwhelming favorite like the Dodgers. You have got to have players in baseball, just like in basketball. You have got to have players. I mean, as great as Phil Jackson is, what does Phil Jackson have without Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Shaq, and Kobe? Right? I mean, you get some credit for managing those players, sure. And the egos, sure. Just like Steve Kerr. But in my opinion, I would say, who's a better coach? I know I'm getting off in the NBA here. I would probably say Greg Popovich is a better coach than Phil Jackson. That's my opinion. Bruce Bochy's a better coach, manager than Dave Roberts. But the thing is, Bochy had to have the pitching with Lincecum and Kane and Bumgarner, and even to a lesser extent, someone like Ryan Vogelsong. I mean, you can't really make any kind of judgment on Tony Vitello until you have a better team. I mean, the only way of the 3 major sports, the one that is most affected by coaching is the NFL, where you can, with great strategy, take out and take down a team that is superior to you. I mean, I am not a fan of the move myself, and I don't think it's exactly what the Giants need. It may end up working, and we'll see. It could, but it would surprise me if it worked out with Tony Vitello and just all the major league coaches and managers they've had to surround him with. It is an eye-raising move, and again, it'll just take time to see what it's like. But I just want to get to the rotation. It's just you don't have enough pitching, and as a Giants fan, it's an unusual place to be when your team doesn't have pitching. For so many years, it was always, well, are you going to have enough offense? Are you going to have enough offense? And to this day, I'm always shocked. We got 3 World Series. In 2010 and 2012, we had enough offense to back up our pitching, because how many years was it that we had pitchers and we just didn't have enough offense to support them? I mean, just think about hard luck losers. Matt Cain, and Logan Webb really is the new Matt Cain, isn't he? He has a hard time picking up wins because he just doesn't get run support. So let's hope that at least it'll be a more interesting season. But I would be, very surprised if they're going to get into any kind of playoff this year. And, it really is a joke listening to KMBR and, what their expectations of the Giants are. Very unrealistic, but after all, they're homers. I just want to see some good baseball. I want to see some entertaining baseball. I want to see some competitive baseball. I want to see a team that can at least push the Dodgers a little bit. I'm not expecting them to beat the Dodgers. Can you push them? Can you just challenge them a little? Because we haven't seen that to this point.